Hi friends, I am starting an experiment to grow tomatoes in Aerogarden Bounty Basic. This variety is called Early Girl. This is not a bush variety, so the plants can grow pretty tall. Let's see if I can manage them in Aerogarden Bounty. I am placing 2 seeds in each pod and starting with 2 pods. My goal is to grow 2 plants in this garden. Depending on the germination, I will thin out the seedlings and keep only 2 plants. Alright, this garden is all set. As always, I will add water, but I will not add the nutrition right away. I will start adding nutrition once I see the seedlings. This is all set and good to go. It's been 6 days. Germination is excellent. All seeds germinated and seedlings are coming nice. This is a great start. Now that I see the seedlings, I will start adding nutrition. I will use Aerogarden nutrients throughout this grow cycle and I will start with recommended dosage, which is 12 ml at every feeding cycle. Once the plants are well established and started producing flowers and fruits, I may need to bump up the nutrition. Let's talk about it as the plants make progress. Day 11. The seedlings are coming nice. It's time to thin out the seedlings and keep only 1 plant per pod. If you wonder about this small piece of tin foil around the seedlings, I added this tin foil to block the light that is going onto the sponges as much as possible. The hole is pretty big here and there is a lot of gap from which the light will pass through. If the light goes onto the sponge that is wet with a nutrition water, the algae will start developing. So blocking the light as much as possible will prevent algae development. It's day 20. Plants are coming excellent. I just moved them to the edges so that they will have enough room to grow. This stem's getting strong and I see some side growth as well. Same pattern on the other plant as well. It's day 29. Plants are doing excellent and they started flower buds. This is very exciting. It's day 32. The flower buds are coming nice and healthy. I don't see any signs of blooming yet, but they are getting close. Day 37. I see a few flower buds started blooming. 1 flower at full bloom and 1 more just started opening. Other plant also has a flower bud opening up now. Day 42. Plants are doing excellent. I see a beautiful baby tomato coming now. And a few more flowers are at full bloom. Same thing with the other plant. I see a nice baby tomato coming here and 1 more flower is drying up, so another baby tomato will show up soon. And I see some new flower buds showing up on this plant. Now I see the plants are touching the lights. I already raised the lights to the maximum height. This plant was touching the lights earlier and I already cut the tops. Now the other plant also started touching the lights. So I am pinching off the tops so that it will stop growing tall. Or at least it will slow down in growth. I see the side branches are growing nice and they also showing up some flower buds. Day 50. Now I see a few tomatoes reached to a decent size on both plants. And a few baby tomatoes following the same path. They all looking very healthy. Plants are still producing some new flowers. Not sure if they can survive, but it would be very nice if they all turn into tomatoes. A few branches are outgrowing the lights and it is getting difficult to manage these plants in this bounty model. Let's see where will it end up. I see a lot of powdery mildew issue on many leaves and I started removing all the infected leaves. Day 64. Plants are doing excellent. They are not producing a lot of tomatoes. However, the existing tomatoes are growing very nice. Look at this tomato. This is super big. I have been growing cherry tomatoes for a long time and I was always successful. but looking at these bigger tomatoes is a totally different experience. Here are a few more tomatoes. They are coming excellent. They are pretty close to the size of a tennis ball. This is all good, but the plants are growing super tall. They went way above the lights. Now it is getting difficult to manage them, but I totally expected it and prepared to cut them down if I have to. Day 71, the tomatoes are growing very nice. They started changing the colors. I am very excited to see a fully ripened tomato pretty soon. By the way, I forgot to mention one thing about the calcium and magnesium supplements I started adding recently. I found that the calcium and magnesium in Aerogarden nutrients is not enough for the bigger size tomatoes like this. So I started adding supplements as soon as the plants started baby tomatoes. Let me also mention when and how much calcium I am adding. I am adding 5 ml of CalMag every 14 days and I am adding them 7 days after the regular feeding cycle for Aerogarden nutrients. Since the Aerogarden nutrients already has some CalMag, I don't want to add both Aerogarden nutrients and supplements together and increase the calcium level too much. So adding the supplements right in between the regular feeding cycle will balance the feeding. This is what I do with all the bigger size tomatoes and this is working very well for me. Day 74, I am still waiting for these tomatoes to ripen. They are taking longer than I thought. On the other side, the plants are outgrowing a lot. Look at all these branches. They are too far from the lights. Most part of the plant is still under the lights, but some branches are super tall and running all over. And I don't see any successful flowering on these branches. Few flower buds showed up, but they are not surviving, so I don't see any point keeping these branches. So I will trim all these branches deeply. I think that will help the plants pay attention to tomatoes instead of growing themselves. Day 80, I finally see one tomato start ripening and one more showing some color change. This is not showing any orange or red color, but it is getting super close. As I mentioned earlier, I cut all the branches that are away from the lights. Now these plants should focus more on the tomatoes and kick off the ripening process. Day 82, the first tomato that started ripening earlier just fell off. I see the stem dried up a little bit and it fell off on its own. I see 2 more tomatoes started ripening. That's really good. Remaining tomatoes just started changing the colors, so they also should be ripening pretty soon. Day 85. The tomatoes have been ripening very well. They are looking so beautiful with a bright red color and glossy looks. Here is the other one. The tomato that fell off also fully ripened now. I am still waiting for the remaining tomatoes to start ripening. The plants are showing some new progress and they started some new flower buds as well. Let's see if any of these will survive. Day 87, one more tomato fell off. I see the same pattern. The stem dried up and it just fell off. Here is one more tomato fully ripened. I am harvesting it now before it fall on its own. These are the first 3 tomatoes. Other 2 tomatoes just started ripening. I see some more new growth on the plants. I see some powdery mildew on these plants and I kept on removing the infected leaves. But the new growth is looking very healthy. And the flower buds also looking healthy as of now. I think this plant is setting itself up for the second crop. Day 90, the remaining tomatoes also ripened and ready to harvest. I will harvest these tomatoes and set these plants up for the second crop. I see the flower buds are showing nice progress. Let's see how these plants are going to perform on the second crop. Day 100, petals are drying up on a few flowers, so I should see some baby tomatoes pretty soon. Same thing on the second plant. Petals are drying up here as well. This is the same pattern as first crop. I see very few flowers, however they produce nice and big tomatoes close to the size of a tennis ball. Day 103. The flowers from the second crop dried up and I see baby tomatoes showing up already. This is amazing and very exciting. The second plant also showing baby tomatoes. What a great journey. Even though these plants are producing very few tomatoes, this is very exciting and an interesting journey growing these full-size tomatoes that are very similar to beefsteak. It's day 125. The plants are doing excellent and the tomatoes from the second crop are growing very nice. I don't see any rotting issues. I keep on adding a CalMag, so the tomatoes are coming excellent. I see 6 tomatoes growing nice at the moment and I see few more flowers and they are surviving. I see a baby tomato here. So this is going fine. Here are few more flowers. Pretty good so far. It's day 132. The plants are doing really great. The tomatoes are growing very nice. I see 6 tomatoes that are growing very nice. And a lot of baby tomatoes showing up now. So this is all going very well. Definitely the second crop is much better than the first crop in terms of productivity. It's day 140. I see 1 tomato from the second crop started ripening. This is really good news. Looks like 1 more tomato started ripening here. And other tomatoes are still young and they are growing nice. Now these plants have a bunch of tomatoes. And I still see some flowering and those flowers are surviving and turning into tomatoes. It is all going very well so far. It's day 144. I see 2 more tomatoes started ripening very well. The first one have ripened pretty much. It looks pretty bright red. So it's ready to harvest anytime. But I'm going to leave it a few more days. These are coming very nice. I see a little bit of greenish. So I'm going to wait on these. The other tomatoes are growing nice. I have a bunch of them. So it's good. I still see some flowering and some baby tomatoes. So the journey is going on very nice. It's day 148. Look at these beautiful and nicely ripening tomatoes. These are fully ripened. They are looking very nice and red. And here 2 more. And these are the young tomatoes growing nice. Day 151. The fully ripened tomatoes started falling off. I see the stems are drying off and the tomatoes are falling. Anyways, they have ripened very well. So it's time to harvest all these tomatoes. And these tomatoes also ripened, so I'm going to harvest these. Alright, these are the tomatoes from the second batch, 6 tomatoes, and the plant still has 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 tomatoes. And here is 1 baby tomato. I see the plant started outgrowing again, so I'm going to trim the plant all the way under the lights and let it go on. It's day 153. As the plant was outgrowing and going far away from the lights, I trimmed the plants to the base. Basically, I pruned it all the way under the lights. So now this plant is getting good amount of light. I see lots of new growth coming. So I will see some young leaves and they can absorb the light as much as they want. The tomatoes are growing very nice. I'm really waiting for these tomatoes to ripen so that it will start a new crop. So this is all going very well so far. It's day 162. I see one more tomato started ripening. This is really nice. And the other tomatoes are growing very well. Young tomatoes also coming very nice. I don't see any rotting issues. All these tomatoes are coming healthy. The plant is looking very healthy. I see lots of development, lot of young growth, and I also see some flower buds. So this journey is still going on very well. It's day 173. Two more tomatoes ripened very well. Look at these bright red tomatoes. They're looking so nice. And one more started ripening here, and the other tomatoes are growing very well. Now I'm going to harvest these tomatoes. I normally harvest tomatoes as soon as they ripened. Whether I need it or not, I will harvest them and keep it aside and use them whenever I need. Because these tomatoes keep on taking energy from the plant. In that case, the plant won't be able to distribute the energy very well to other tomatoes. So harvesting the tomatoes as soon as they're ripe is going to help other tomatoes to show some progress. Alright, that's two good tomatoes. Now these tomatoes should get a chance to ripen. The plant is still doing excellent. There is lots of new development and so many flower buds showing up. So these plants are going non-stop. It's day 177. As I harvested previous tomatoes, I see a few more tomatoes started nice progress. This is ripening very well, and here is the other one. This is a little bit small compared to other tomatoes I harvested so far, but it is coming nice and ripening well. I still see two tomatoes here, and the plant is looking very healthy and started producing few more flowers. This plant is not stopping anywhere. Good progress. It's day 183. Three more tomatoes ready, and it's time to harvest them. Here they are. The plant still has two nice tomatoes growing here. I don't see any young tomatoes, but the plants are on full bloom again. A few flowers here, here, and here. So these plants are not stopping anywhere. Even though they are not producing lots of tomatoes, they are continuously producing some tomatoes. It's day 194. One more tomato started ripening, and a few more baby tomatoes showing up on the plant. Two here and one here. So this plant is consistently providing tomatoes, even though it is not a prolific. It's not getting tired at all, but I'm getting really tired of this plant. It's kind of boring, very slow growth and less productive. So I'm getting really bored of this plant. I'm thinking of harvesting these two tomatoes and pull out these plants. It's day 198. One more tomato fully ripened and ready to harvest. So I'm harvesting it now. Alright, this tomato also looks like ripening. Let's see. I really want to pull these plants out, but I see another batch started. Look at these nice young tomatoes growing here. Two of them here, and two of them here, and one here. So now actually it's getting difficult to pull out these plants. I'm really looking for every opportunity to pull out these plants because I'm really bored. I'm getting nice and beautiful big size tomatoes, but somehow I'm kind of bored with this plant. It's been a long journey, 200 days. So I'm looking for every opportunity to pull it out. But with this new batch of tomatoes growing very nice. Oh, actually two more tomatoes coming here. So with this kind of experience, I don't want to pull them out now. So I'm going to keep it for now, but I will definitely look for opportunity to pull these plants out. I really want to try something else. It's day 209. One more tomato started ripening very well. This is good. The other tomatoes are growing nice. 2 here, 1 here, and 2 here, and 1 young tomato. I'm going to take out this young tomato. I really want to get rid of this garden as soon as possible. Now I made up my mind very strictly. As soon as I'm done with all these 5 tomatoes, I'm going to give up on this garden. It's day 226. One more tomato fully ripened. I'm going to harvest it now. Looks like these tomatoes started ripening. Looks like they are changing the colors a little bit. And these are the young tomatoes. 2 here, 1 here, and along with a small young tomato. The plants started flowering, but I don't want to keep these plants anymore. So I'm going to take off these flowers and flower buds. As soon as these tomatoes are ripened, I'm going to pull out these plants. It's day 233. 2 more tomatoes are ripening very well. One almost ripened and it can be harvested. The other one is ripening very well. These are the young and green tomatoes. The plant is still doing excellent. Lots of new development. Look at all this young growth. Lots of fresh development. These plants started producing flower buds, but I'm intentionally removing those flower buds because I really want to pull out this plant to try something else. That's the reason I'm removing all the flower buds as they are showing up. As soon as these tomatoes ripened, I'm going to pull out this plant. Let's see how long these tomatoes will take to ripe. It's day 238. These 2 tomatoes have ripened very well and 1 more tomato started ripening. It's day 247. All the tomatoes from this batch are ready. They are ready to harvest. Only 1 tomato is a little bit green, but everything else is ready to harvest. The plant is still doing great. Look at these new flowers. The plant is coming back with lot more flowers and lot more flower buds. Wow, this is really fantastic growth. I was very tempted to pull out this plant, but this is always holding me. By the way, I haven't shown how the tomatoes are looking inside. So here is one. They are looking so amazing, very juicy, couple of seeds, lot of flesh. So it is looking like a typical authentic tomato. So it looks very nice. And as always, they also taste good. It's day 258. The last tomato from this plant is ready to harvest. It is fully ripened. The plant already started producing lots of baby tomatoes. There are so many here, but I decided to pull out these plants. I'm going to try some other variety. I recently ordered the same early gold, but in the bush category. So I'm going to pull out these plants and start with a early gold bush tomato. Let's see how that's going to turn out. This plant still has a lot of life. I can keep it if I want to, but I just want to try something else. So I'm going to pull it out and call this experiment done. All right, that is all for now. Thanks for watching and happy gardening.